Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of To Be Quite Honest, your go-to podcast for deep conversation around the world of real estate and more. I remain your ever beautiful host, Norma, and with me I have
Big Ben as always.
Big Ben. And like we always say, we'll have a very special guest today. Ben, want to do the honors?
Yes, I want to do the honors. Thank you. Now, today we're talking about a very, very interesting topic, right? Everybody keeps talking about the economy this, the economy that, the economy this. We've heard everything. We've said today, let's discuss it.
Decided to be saving.
Yeah. Now, today we're going to be talking about cutting your coat. So, if you are someone who doesn't cut your coat normally according to your
But Ben,
size,
do you know that song? Always cut your coat according to your size. Do you know that song? Okay, no, well, yeah, that's our topic for today.
cut your coat. So, to have this discussion with us, we brought with us a very experienced business developer in the person of Mr. Raphael Emenyonu, who is the regional manager for the Lagos Southwest, Lagos Southwest for ARM Investment Managers, which is one of the largest non-bank financial institutions in Nigeria. So, Mr. Raphael, would you like to say a thing or two to our people? Tell them who you are.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Like you heard, my name is Raphael Emenyonu, and this is actually a field that I really have passion for. I'm actually a wealth manager, a wealth advisor. So it's interesting to speak to you today about how you can cut your coat. And in Nigeria, we end that by saying that cut your coat according to your size, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you very much once again for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you on. It's nice
exactly.
to
We're
have
happy
you.
to have you with us. So, let's get into it.
Let's
Now,
get straight
you said
into
you're a
it.
wealth advisor, right? So if you don't consider yourself a very wealthy person, it doesn't mean this discussion is not for you.
Yeah.
That's not the case. So
Mhm.
at whatever level you are, you need whatever information he's going to be sharing right now, because you can apply it at every or any level.
Yeah.
Now, my first question to you would be: everybody's complaining about the economy. Economy this, economy that. Economy this, Tinubu this, Tinubu that.
Economy won't
You know,
kill us.
Economy won't kill many people. So, as a wealth advisor, how has the current cost of living crisis we're having in the country, how has it affected you personally? And let's not shine the spotlight so much on you. We know that the current cost of living thing is affecting almost all of us.
Okay.
So first and foremost, what adjustments would we need to make? How do we first start by cutting our coat?
Okay, so responding to the first question in terms of me, I'm a Nigerian and I live in Nigeria, so most definitely I've been affected, right?
Sure.
And to tell you areas by which I've been affected, I'm a family man. So most of the things, we have a culture in the family as well, myself and my nuclear family. We go on vacation, family vacation once a year. Now I've said to them that that's not going to happen. That probably would happen once in every 2 years going forward, right? Even if we have to shop when we travel, it's going to definitely be on sales. I mean, we'll be buying the same quality of clothes anyway, but we have to look for where there is sales, So whatever we're getting for £50, if we can get it for £5, £10,
Better.
then it makes a lot of sense, isn't it? So those are sort of the things that I've introduced to the family. Whether the kids like it or not, it's our new reality.
Yeah.
The second thing is eating out. We have to also reduce that, significantly. Effective, and this has been effective since I think August last year or September last year. So we eat a lot at home now.
There's food at home.
There's food at home. So we eat a lot at home now. So we've also cut down on the rate at which we eat out of the house. So those are things that we've done. In terms of an average Nigerian, we've seen a lot. In the course of doing my business as well, we've met a lot of people, we've seen a lot. And I'll give you examples. We've seen self-employed individuals that are beginning to think of, seeking
9 to 5.
seeking a 9-to-5 role because it's tough. And if you look at the essential things, what has made it tough? The cost of fuel, which are sort of reflected in the cost of food, cost of feeding. The FX, we're import dependent. FX is, dollar is more or less our currency today in Nigeria. It's no more naira. Everybody is looking for dollars everywhere. So for self-employed individuals, we've seen quite a number of them that are beginning to look for 9 to 5.
They're going to bring out the certificate that they
From
We've
under
seen-
the bed.
Yeah, we've seen
that
a
they
lot
thought
of
was
them.
more useful.
We've seen a lot of them that are looking for 9 to 5. We've seen families where you used to have maybe 3 or 4 people that are doing very well. Now is one person that they're all running to, and they want to kill that one person. So we've seen different things. In Nigeria, we used to see people that, they say in Nigeria, we say 3 square meals. We see people that they want to eat until their eyeballs fall out, but now we all begin to realize that, it's just like fueling your car if you have to eat. Yeah. It's just for you to get some energy and begin to move around. So people don't even follow all those 3 square meals anymore. Some people do 001, some people do 101, exactly. And it has helped a lot of people as well in that regard. So those are areas as well, in terms of doing this business, those are areas as well that we've seen Nigerians, being affected and a lot of them trying to adjust to the new reality.
I would even like
It's
to
a
add
sad
to
reality, but I guess that's where we are now. Sadly.
Yeah, but I think that one of the things that we also need to, or for the audience to also understand, is that economies have a cycle. It's not always rosy. There are challenges, but in the course of those challenges, there are opportunities. And you just need to be ready. So that's very important that we also take note of.
Okay, so now that you have mentioned these challenges, what will you say are some tips that you can share to our audience that has proven effective to be able to spread their budget or spread their cost of living that can help
their salary last till the next one comes?
Because you've given us some of your own tips, like cutting down trips, cutting down eating out.
Yeah.
That is just that's subjective to your family.
Yeah.
So what would you say are the tips?
There's a philosophy called financial planning. Now that philosophy helps you to navigate whatever situation you find yourself in the economy, or whatever situation the economy presents. There are 5 to 6 different steps, in applying that philosophy to your life. It could be to your personal life, it could be to your corporate life, it could, and the first thing is for you to identify your goals. You need to be clear on what your goals are. You need to be clear on exactly what you want to achieve. Applying it to this situation that we find ourselves today, you need to prioritize. It's not everything that would make sense to you anymore. And one of the tools that can help you do that comfortably is the budgeting tool. We all learned about budgeting in school, but a lot of us just saw it as, something theoretical. It's just about school, but it's something that we can apply to our reality today that would help us. So those are areas by which the budgeting tool will help you. You have some ladies that still buy Ashwebi every weekend, and they tell you there's no money, right? So those are areas, and then you have some guys that they have 3, 4, 5 girlfriends. Yeah. They tell you there's no money.
Should they cut down and really stop completely?
It depends on them as an individual. Different things work for everybody. Some guys derive a lot of energy from that.
Abi, since they said they cannot eat okra for the rest of their life, they want to eat okra, egusi, everything.
Yeah.
So they will go.
So while some of us are busy reading our Bible, they are busy. They're busy doing what they know how to do best.
Fair enough.
So in applying that concept of financial planning, the next step really, after budgeting, the next step really, because what budgeting does for you, like I mentioned earlier, is to help you identify where you're spending and you shouldn't be spending. So that helps you to identify the surplus that you can get from the little money that you make. And I think another important thing to add is that if you then realize that these are my goals, what I've been able to identify here is not going to be enough for me to achieve these goals, then you probably need to then be thinking of what you can then do after your 9 to 5, or after you've done what you're doing, as your daily job that gives you money. What else can you? How best can you then harness your skills? What else can you do with your skills to make additional income? You have some OAPs today that they are good. They're into MCs. They're into acting. It's just a way to make additional income. You can look at your community as well. You need to pull people together to help in taking the waste out of the environment, and then you get paid for it. So many things. If you look at where you stay as well, and you say fertile land, you need to begin to plant vegetables. apart from financial instruments that you can also put your surplus in. Exactly. Apart from your financial instruments like the treasury bills, commercial papers that you can then invest your money in, as well as real estate. I mean, a group of people can come together, contribute money, and buy a property, and then begin to earn on the rental income. And after a while, you can sell it, and then you share whatever was appreciated on that investment, right? The next thing that you need to also, the next step in the financial planning process is for you to then, because as you are as a human being, there are so many things going through your mind, right? You want to do this, you want to do that, if I ask you now, what exactly are the things you want to do, you list about 10, right? Now you need to break those things down into short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Short-term are the ones you want to achieve between 0 to 2 years, right? 0 to 24 months. Medium-term are between the 2 years and 10 years, and then the long-term are the ones above 10 years. So once you're able to break it down in that way, into those different categories, then you look for the opportunities that are out there. And then, because each of those opportunities, if you look at them critically, they are either structured for short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So it just makes sense for you to apply a short-term opportunity to your short-term goal, a medium-term opportunity to your medium-term goal, and a long-term opportunity to your long-term goal. Now, the next step in financial planning is very, very, it's something you can easily relate with. Everybody's thinking about opportunities. Everybody's looking for opportunities. So the earlier you're able to tap into that opportunity, once you identify it, the better for you, because if there's so many people in that direction, then it probably wouldn't make sense to you any longer. And then the fifth step is for you to continue to review those your opportunities. Continue to review those your investments. Don't just do them and go to sleep, right? Continue to review them. If it's short term, review every 6 months, every 3 months, every 6 months. If it's long term, review annually. Because other opportunities might come up while you're still locked in there. So you can exit those ones and then tap into the next available opportunity. So you need to, so I think in summary, you need to apply the financial planning philosophy. And if you need to increase your cash flow, you need to then harness your skills and look for areas where you can make your skills work for you and earn more money.
Okay. So, back to the tips, right, that you were speaking on. So I'll just run you through a conversation I had with my friends. When I first started working, I was in NYC. I just started working. I was just coming fresh out of university now. How much would I be earning? So you know how obviously we're taught growing up, you have to divide your money, you save certain amount, save certain amount, save certain amount. So we're all having a conversation, and then there was one guy that was like, with the little that we're earning, he still tries to cut it in half and save. And I was just wondering, like, okay, let's just use for instance, I'm fresh out. What's minimum wage in Nigeria? 32,000?
30.
We're going to let it, so it's a bit approved.
No, but I know they want to increase it to 100 plus.
Yeah, but 30,
no, they started
30 is the discussion.
33 was what NYC was giving us. So at the time, 33,000 was what NYC was giving us. So let's say I'm getting 33 from NYC. My job was giving maybe 60. As a youth in Nigeria, let me say I was earning like 93,000. So as an investment manager now, right? Would you advise me to save, to still do budgeting with my 93,000?
So it's a mindset thing, right? It requires that you're focused. It requires that you're disciplined. Now, by the way, recall I mentioned earlier that you have a lot of goals running through your mind, right? So you need to prioritize, right? Because there are a lot of things. So you need to prioritize to be able to accommodate the size of a cash flow, right? So it's a mindset thing. And I'll tell you in reality what I've seen in the course of doing my job as well. A couple of years ago, just before we got into this situation, there was a driver that was earning 40,000 naira a month. This guy was consistently saving 5,000 naira a month. So he had an automated arrangement with the bank. So there's a direct debit, right? So he has a product with us at ARN, and he started the product with 10,000 naira, and consistently 5,000 was going into that account every month. Now, I had to ask him, and he told me one thing which I've always read, about, and he said to me that he has conditioned his mind to 35,000 naira. That's what he earns. So one of the tips as well that you need to apply is that you need to pay yourself first. Whatever is left is what you spend, because all of these things vying for this money will always be there. Families will always be there. Whatever you like to do, money, children will always be there. Those needs will always be there. But if you condition your mind to the fact that this is what you're earning, then that is what it is. I'll tell you another true story. I don't know if you recall the bank tsunami many years ago when a lot of people were laid off in the banks. I used to have, I had a friend, still a friend anyway. Now, he was earning a sizable amount of money. He never believed that he could save from that money. He was exposed to a lot of loans here and there, and he was living the life, right? So assume someone that was earning about 400k years ago, right? And he lost his job. And then the next job he found, he was then earning about 120k. Now, when he was earning 400k, he said to me that he couldn't save. But when he was earning 120k, he was able to survive, right? So imagine if he had set aside a certain amount when he was earning 400k. So he lost the job, he had no savings, he had no assets, he had nothing.
No, some people, that's like a wake-up call.
Some people learn from personal experience.
So the point is, it's a mindset thing, right? And there's so many stories like that, so many, experiences, life experiences like that, that we've come across. But like you said, people need to learn the hard way, so that's it, yeah. And some people would also say to you that, how much is the money? 100 naira.
Literally, I've done, like I had
no, some would even say to you that when you say, I lost 100 naira, it's, how much is it? Just 100 naira. Forgetting that every kobo counts.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another reality. There's a friend of mine, when I started this job many years ago, right? We went to school together. He's from a very wealthy home. He got a very fantastic job. He was rising very quickly. I was trying to get him to start something, right? Set something aside. Said, no, he's not interested. When he was going to start eventually, he said, okay, let me help you meet your target, right? And then he started with 5,000 naira. This is someone that can conveniently put aside 20 million naira. This was many years ago, over 10 years ago. He started with 5,000 because he loves to stay in the best areas, drive the latest cars, hang out in the best areas as well. Now, 6 years after that, he had saved, I think, about 300k plus with interest and everything. The money had grew to about almost double, about 600,000 plus, right? And he called me one evening, that's like 6 years after, that we should hook up and just talk. And then when I got there, he asked that he wanted a soft loan of about 300k. Now, because that 5,000 naira was little or nothing to him, right? He didn't believe that 5,000 naira could save him. It could even save him from shame or embarrassment. So I told him about that investment. He said I shouldn't embarrass him. That if I don't have the 300k, I should let him know so he can move on. He was married then. He was married then with kids. He wanted to pay school fees. He had some money on him, and then he just needed a little amount more to add up to it and then pay up. So I got back to the office the following day. I pulled out a statement. I looked at it. This was almost double. And then I told him. Since that period, he's been very, very faithful to certain funds aside. So it's really a mindset thing, and how you intend to view it and say it. To you, 93k might be a very small money. To somebody else, it might be a lot of money.
And it's very common to see people learn from their experiences in this matter.
Yeah.
Right? Because until you hit rock bottom and you see people who are probably earning, probably same amount as you or even less, having something to fall back on, and you have none.
Yeah.
Have to start.
Especially people that will tell you that it's just 100 naira. How much is it? It's just 50
I literally
naira.
had someone tell us that that if you're not earning up to 300k, what are you saving for? How do you want to live the lifestyle? Because obviously we grew up around people.
To be fair, I think most of us have even been there. I remember I used to say that when I got my first job after NYSC, it was less than 100,000. So then I think
you want to go with friends, you want to do dinner.
A friend of mine who was like a very, very serious guy then said, like, how much do you save from? And like, how much can I save from this, But as I got older, I got wiser,
Some of us will say we're Christians and every month end we pay 10% tithe.
Yeah.
So why can't you apply that to yourself? Why can't you pay yourself 10% and then spend what is rest? You definitely survive. Yeah.
And really, if you can be disciplined enough to, tithe consistently every month, you should be able to pay yourself consistently every month. So
Absolutely.
that's interesting. So let's look at it the other way. There are people who, in spite of all that's going on in the economy, they still have very positive cash flow, right? And they'll be thinking, how can I, double, triple the cash I have now so that it can help me take care of, needs that the prices of those things are even rising. So as a wealth advisor, how would you advise that we go about, preserving and growing whatever cash we have right now, so we can continue to stay afloat?
Okay.
That we don't hit rock bottom.
So to respond to that question, I think it's also important for us to note that it's not what you earn that is important, it's what you do with it, right? And that's really where we're going to with this question. So there's so many opportunities out there. It could be traditional, it could be alternative, right? Today, we've seen an opportunity that the federal government created, I think about 6 weeks ago, in the area of the money market instruments with treasury bills. 1 year treasury bills was about 20. The last auction, it was about 20%. Just before then, 1 year treasury bills was about 21% discounted yield. Even though you still get some level of negative return, right? But in terms of your Naira savings, it's worth it. Commercial papers are another opportunities that we're beginning to see today in terms of the trend. Deposits at the banks as well, with asset management companies as well, we're beginning to see that. Equities is another interesting instrument as well. So apart from other areas where you can harness your skills to make more money, you can look at those financial instruments as well. Mutual funds is also one of them. And like I mentioned earlier, real estate is also another area that you can look at. A group of people can come together, even though people say it's expensive, but a group of people can come together, have an agreement, buy into property, and then make the best use of that property and earn decent income. Alternative investments are also there. People invest in fintechs today, even though it's risky, but over the long term, just like I mentioned earlier, you need to break down your goals into short term, medium term, and long term. So for the long term ones, you need to look at instruments that will preserve your purchasing power, that won't make a mess of what you're setting aside today. So what that means is that if you're putting aside 10,000 naira today, by the time you call for that 10,000 naira in the next 10 years, you should be able to buy 3 or 4 of the things that 10,000 naira could buy today, and that's the sacrifice you're making, right? So investing in fintechs is suitable for your long term. Equities as well is suitable for your long term. Real estate, again, as we see that as well, is suitable for your long term. Medium term, you can look at some ballast mutual funds, which is a pool of funds for different investors, different savers with a similar objective. There are quite a number of that in Nigeria today. And then for your short-term goals, you need to look at instruments that naturally preserves your capital and they pay you decent income. And I've mentioned a few of those earlier: commercial papers, treasury bills, money market fund, fixed deposits in banks, and the likes.
Okay, so I mean, you've said so much, but to some people watching this, they might look at you like, how you tell people, how did you make it? You say, it's the grace of God, though.
So
it's
always the grace of God.
Become more specific, like what three channels amongst the several you've just listed are you locked into right now?
Right now,
what are your... Okay, go ahead.
Money market fund. It's very affordable for any category of individual or institution. I think the minimum you find today in the country is 1,000 naira, and it's paying a effective yield in excess of about 14% for the least. It's paying, and that you get every day, right? Even though the yield isn't fixed, but you get that like every day in your investment account. Every 3 months, it could be paid out to you. You can access it anytime as well after 30 days. You can add money to it anytime as well to grow your savings. So that's very
so
affordable.
Just putting down money.
Yeah, it's just basically, and so the fund managers invest in money market instruments as well, treasury bills being one of them, and other money market instruments like bankers acceptance, just to ensure that, you're making money, then looking for those opportunities every day as well. And that's why it's valued every day. That's why it's not fixed. Equities is another area that I'm talking about shares today. I know that because of what happened in the past, the global recession, a lot of people have shied away from that market, but it's still a very, very fantastic market. A lot of people are making money from it. Last year, within the first 6 to 8 months, we had a bank that I invested in as well that made about 100% from January to August last year alone. So imagine if you had put like 5 million naira in that bank at the beginning of the year. By the end of August, if you choose to sell, you probably will be exiting with excess of 10 million naira, right? And that happened to a couple of bank shares last year. But I think about 2 of them returned over 100% within the first 8 months. So those are areas as well that, you can look at. But most importantly, equities are meant for long-term goals because of the volatile nature. Treasury bills is another area that people are now beginning to tap into because of what has been happening in the past 2 months in that space as well. And then commercial papers as well. But those are suitable for your short-term goals, things that you want to achieve between 0 to 24 months. So goals can be maybe going on vacation, paying your children's school fees, paying your house rent. Your long-term goals can be your retirement plan, sending your children, a child that is about 4 years today, or if you just had the child today, sending the child to school abroad. You can begin to consider things like, equities, real estate, investing in fintechs, which are more long-term investment instruments. So essentially, it depends on your goals. You need to be clear on what those goals are, prioritize, and then look at those instruments because they're also structured in a way that they are structured for each of those categories of goals. So you don't have to. It's not ideal for you to invest a long-term instrument in a short-term goal, right? Or invest in a medium-term instrument for a short-term goal. You need to align and ensure that you're investing in a short-term goal, a short-term instrument for a short-term goal, medium-term instrument for a medium-term goal, and long-term instrument for a long-term.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, Mr. Raphael. So we have just someone sent in a question. So we're just going to paint out it's a scenario. So she says, I earn 5 million per annum, and I do a side also earning me about 10 million. I work 2 jobs and one earns me 20. So she's earning 5 million per annum, 10 million, and then 20 million. I would like to say everything is per annum, right? So she's asking what investment opportunity exists to her where she'll be able to maintain and increase her wealth.
So to answer that question, I'll first of all say that, and I'll repeat what I said earlier, that it's not what you earn that matters, is what you do with it. Now, in achieving that, you need to be clear on your goals. What exactly does she want to achieve with those monies? Does she just want to keep money aside?
Yeah.
Right?
She sounds like a single lady.
And even if she's a single lady.
Some people have where she just wants to be traveling now.
Okay. So, and then the second thing is she also needs to understand her risk profile, right? In understanding your risk profile, you need to know the kind of person you are. Are you willing to take risk? Or you just want to keep your money safe and then ensure that interest is on it? You don't want to hear that
the money
you'll be just dipped a little. You don't want to hear all those sort of things. So you need to understand your risk profile, the kind of person you are. But what we say to people is that if you're young,
it's best to take risk.
You're better off taking risk because you still have a lot of years ahead of you. But if you're close to retirement, then you just need to keep it safe. But in as much as we say that, you still have people that are younger. They say,
because they're young, they won't, like, if they hear that their money is lost, they still have time to.
So the risk
are you
here.
Saying yes, Ben? Do you know when you die?
No. So the risk here is not necessarily that you lose money. The risk here is that because you're not in control of that money, right? You first of all require a bit more premium, and because you're not in control of it, there's a tendency that even if it's volatile, it will pick up and it will be a lot better than where you're coming from. But for some people, because they are not that young, by the time it dips might be when they'll need it. So that's why. So it's not necessarily that you lose money. It's just because the longer you're not in control of it, you require more. So that's essentially what it means. But going to your question, if it's just for her to keep the money away, she's of low risk profile. Her time horizon is also important. You need to know how long she wants to keep the money away for. But in this instance, I want to assume that she just wants to keep the money away.
Because, I mean,
And,
maybe considering the fact that she's earning too much.
Yeah, she
Maybe
just
for her,
wants
she might be
to.
feeling like it's too much and she just wants to share.
Yeah. So if her risk profile is low, then we'll probably just keep it safe for her 100%, not under her pillow.
So on that bed.
Not under her bed, right? So she could invest in treasury bills, take advantage of what's going on in that space, commercial papers, money market fund as well, just to keep the capital intact. And then she's earning a decent income on it as well. So she could do that. But if she has more of a long-term view and she's looking for more of a diversified portfolio, then we can have a certain percentage in equities. Because again, if you look at the government of the day, with what they have said that they want to do, we expect that it would also favor the companies, the listed companies. So apply the right fundamentals, select the right institution, and then have a certain exposure into that space as well for her long-term goals, right? But for her short-term goals, and if she's risk averse, then we just have to keep it safe, intact, and then ensure that she's earning decent income.
Yeah. So what we say to people, like, some people say they don't like
Is that you though?
No. I wish. We claim it. But what we say for some people that say, I don't like to save because, those are you might think it's people that are not educated that will say those type of things. But I've heard someone before say, I don't really like to save. I mean, I remove some money here and there. I know you might boil it down to goals, but I just listening to that mindset, I was like, wow. The person was like, I don't know when I'll die. Let me just go and enjoy my
Yeah.
There are people like that.
But unfortunately, people like that are people that live very long.
Yeah.
I can also relate
so that God give us on earth longer.
But if you don't plan for it, your story is coming.
Yeah.
There was an Alaja that used to sell. She sells clothes, fabrics on Lagos Island. She believed the whole lot in, turning the entire profit back into the business. And the reality is that in her business, she could make 200%, right? And I'm going to her and I'm telling her 21% in treasury bills. I'm telling her 14% in money market fund. She's like, what are you talking about? If I put everything back, and that's what she does. She can just remove some to pay for her children's school fees and feed the house and pay her staff salaries.
And then the rest results back.
But guess what? The building got burnt. Her stocks, she lost everything, right? And then she had to start all over again. And
if she had done...
So the point is, if she had even set aside at least 10% of her profit, she probably would have built a lump sum over the years that she can fall back on to start all over again. But in that instance, she had to look for loans. She had to speak to relatives to borrow money and all of those things. So it's just important to set something aside. Whether you need it now or not, it's just important to set something aside.
I agree.
Yes, death is inevitable, but what if it doesn't come until you're almost 200? Just saying.
Exactly. So, some people would attribute all that's going on in the economy to the activities of government and maybe people in government.
Right.
So, are there any interventions from government side, to help people at a time like this? And any at all that you're aware of that people that our viewers can take advantage of?
So, what we know is what we're currently experiencing, which is the fact that they're trying to stabilize the FX market. Are just trying to ensure that things are stable. I know they've also started walking into shops to ensure that shop owners reduce the prices of their goods.
Markets, if not, they should lock them
of their goods. But we also feel that part of the things that they also need to pay attention to, apart from the security, is to also try and invest massively in agriculture. They can start with a location in each of the geopolitical zones, have a massive agricultural company there that they would support and bring in private investors. Try starting out with maybe the 6 cycle or 12 cycle cash crops, and then also work on infrastructure so that this can be exported and we can increase our exports. And in that process, we expect that a lot more FX will come into the country and sort of help to stabilize whatever they are trying to do. I think another quick win for them will be to improve or increase the production in the crude oil space as well. Inflows from there as well would help stabilize the FX and then open up other sectors to the private organizations. That would also help in terms of reducing the rate of unemployment. People have more jobs. Because the thing is, when inflation starts rising, or when people start taking advantage of certain items that are important to the public, is because that item is scarce, right? And what you then need to do is to make that item available in abundance, right? But if you're trying to, look for some areas of
Cutting corner.
maybe not cutting corners. We're talking about government. Yes, it's careful.
I know. I'm not saying that the government tries to cut corner.
But essentially in economics, what it means is that if an item is important to the public and it's scarce, it's not available everywhere you walk into, then there are people that would definitely take advantage of it. A very relatable example is when fuel is scarce. That's when you see those guys with jerry cans by the roadside. But when it's available everywhere, you don't see them anymore, right? And that's why you also have black market for dollars as well, because it's not available everywhere. So what you then need to focus on is how do you make it available? Is by creating competition, opening the sectors opening all sectors for public, for private organizations, increase production, make it competitive, and then we'll have it everywhere, and then we'll all be fine at the end of the day.
Also, some people say, you spoke about inflation earlier. Another reason some people would rather, put back all their profits into their business instead of save, is because, right now, I hear inflation numbers are over 30%.
Yep.
So, most of the instruments you had shared earlier, the max interest you mentioned was around 20-something%. So, in a situation where you have inflation numbers that are higher than whatever interest rates all these financial institutions and their instruments are promising, that's not exactly encouraging for an average investor. So what would be your response to that? How do you reconcile this information?
So for people that are not risk averse, the equity market is there for them to be able to tap into that opportunity. But for people that are risk averse, unfortunately, most of the instruments you have that would preserve their capital, pay them decent income, are not providing that positive real return. It's mostly in the negative real return space. And unfortunately, that's what we have, But the reality is that you have to set something aside. You have Naira obligations, you have to set something aside. If you're investing in dollars, ensure that you have dollar obligations so that it's making sense to you, whatever you're earning on it, right? And they're able to apply it accordingly as well. So unfortunately, you don't have that sort of short-term instruments that can exceed what the rates are on the side of inflation today. But equities, if you are not risk averse, you can take advantage of that, and majorly most of the long-term asset classes.
We've been able to talk about how people can cut their coats. We've also talked about how people can, grow
Spread
whatever
their
it is
coats.
they have.
You cut your
Have
coat,
more
then you
coats,
still spread
actually.
your coats.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it all boils down to financial planning, like he's rightly said.
Like he said.
So
Lack of discipline to follow up with these financial planning tips have you borrowing money all the time, always stuck, not being able to meet up with your obligations and all of that. Something I wanted to ask.
prioritize every couple count.
Every couple count.
If start early, start now. It's important
Even
as
if
well.
you've not started, it's never too late.
Never too late.
Never
The
too late.
best time to even start is now. Yeah.
That's it. We love that. So
One final question. Now, when you listen to financial experts talk about investments, many of them always point to the term compounding, right? So, can you touch on that a bit? How does that work, and how can we apply that, especially now when there is a need to grow our finances at unprecedented rates?
So what you're doing in that regard is you're earning interest on interest. So you put 10,000 aside you're getting 10% on it. At the end of that tenor, when you earn your 10%, you're not taking that interest, you're not taking the capital, you're putting everything back into that same investment. So that's like 110% now, right? You're putting it back into that investment for another 10%. So it actually helps you to get closer to your goals. It helps you to get to your goals faster. If you're disciplined and you're focused, it helps you to get to your goals faster. So yes, it's a very interesting concept. We also,
it's not even enough to just invest in T-bill, treasury bills, and all of these commercial papers, and some of them even pay dividends and interest upfront. So it makes sense to actually roll everything back
into it. Yes,
so that we are able to.
Yes, yeah.
Interestingly, I stumbled upon, I think it was Dangote Cement or something last week that had commercial paper, and it was like 20% interest.
Yes.
So I was thinking to myself, 20% 5 times is 100%. So it means, and I saw that I think that also 180
yeah, but
days.
then you're
like
forgetting that life happens.
Yeah.
So in as much as you want to be consistent, you might have to eventually down the line break it. So it depends.
Yes,
always happens.
So everybody. That's why it's important that you identify your goals, you're clear on your goals, and you're saving, for each of those goals. I think another thing that is important is that you also need to have an emergency fund. What that does for you is to ensure that if you have any form of emergency, you handle that. So whatever you're planning for other goals, you don't touch it. You don't interrupt that plan. That plan keeps going while your emergency fund is there to handle whatever is emergency.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raphael. Everybody needs a Mr. Raphael in.
Actually,
To be honest, I mean, they have money. You need to know where to put the money into, so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
She said you learned a thing or two.
Yeah,
I think I've learned like 3 or 4. Learned a lot more. To our viewers, if you have questions, feel free to send them in. We can always touch them, and we can always attend to them on our shows, or reply you directly. Any final words, Mr. Raphael? To our viewers right now.
Every cover counts.
Start.
Yeah, start now. The best time to start is now.
I love that.
Every cover counts. That's every cover counts. Thank you so much, our esteemed viewers. Thank you for always sticking with us. We hope you found a lot of value in all that our guests have shared with us today. I've learned so much.
I have as well.
I've learned so much as well. So till next time, please keep following the To Be Quite Honest podcast. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube. Follow us everywhere.
Bring you spicy.
Exactly.
Anyways, thank you so much, Mr. Raphael, once again.
Thank you
and
so
to
much.
Our viewers.
Bye-bye.